Imagine your life as an ancient oak tree. Every possession a leaf, every worry a root. Now picture 10,000 leaves suffocating its branches. That's the invisible weight you carry daily. But elders who weathered storms with just a bowl and blanket, they knew a secret. True shelter grows in empty spaces. For generations, they tended simplicity like sacred soil. No decluttering tactics, no digital detoxes, just 5 quiet principles forged in resilience, now buried under our mountains of more. In this video, part of our Elderly Wisdom series, we'll journey to the heart of elderly wisdom, where a Depression-era farmer's single pot holds more peace than a stocked pantry, where a Balinese grandmother's threadbare shawl outwarms today's luxury fleece. You'll learn why emptiness is not lack, but reverence, and how their extreme minimalism wasn't sacrifice, but sovereignty. The first secret? The courage to own very little, yet live deeply. Let us begin. Consider the humble hearth of a Kyoto pottery master, aged 94. His workspace holds just 3 tools: a wheel, a kiln, and 1 chipped teacup he drinks from daily. To modern eyes, it appears barren. But to those who understand elderly wisdom, this emptiness is no accident. It's a sanctuary carved from a lifetime of learning. For generations, elders cultivated emptiness not as deprivation, but as sacred geography. A Depression-era widow in Nebraska knew leaving her windowsill bare allowed prairie light to dance through dust motes like liquid gold. A daily reminder that beauty requires no ownership. A Sardinian shepherd's stone hut, deliberately devoid of shelves, forced him to touch each possession daily: wool blanket, iron pot, olive wood spoon. This ritual transformed mundane objects into companions. Neuroscience now whispers what these souls knew. Clutter fractures attention, while emptiness restores cognitive sovereignty. When Stanford researchers studied centenarians in Okinawa, they found those with the least possessions displayed 23% sharper memory recall. Not because they owned nothing, but because every item served a purpose etched into their bones. This is strategic emptiness, the art of guarding voids where meaning can root. Your grandmother's spotless porch wasn't sterile. It was a stage for watching thunderstorms brew. The fisherman's boat with just nets and a jug wasn't poor. It was a temple for hearing waves confess secrets. Modern life bombards us with visual static, pop-up ads, crowded counters, notifications. Yet elders whisper, an empty corner is a chapel. A blank wall becomes a canvas for shadows at dusk. A single drawer left half full breathes gratitude into socks and spoons. Try this tonight. Clear 1 square foot of space. Not to declutter, but to consecrate. Place nothing there for 7 days. Watch how emptiness gathers moonlight, memories, and the courage to ask, what if I need less than I fear? Which leads us to the second pillar, how elders transformed scarcity into abundance by mastering the art of material alchemy. In the highlands of Bhutan, a 102-year-old weaver named Ama Yangzum does something extraordinary each dawn. Before touching her loom, she whispers to her threadbare shawl, a companion of 70 winters. She doesn't see frayed edges. She sees topography of memory, the tear from her daughter's birth, the stain from monsoon rice harvests. This is the forgotten art of kintsugi for the soul, where elders transformed wear into wisdom. Scarcity forced their hands, but ritual transformed necessity into reverence. Consider the Dust Bowl wives who saved flour sacks not for thrift alone, but to embroider them with wildflowers. Each stitch became a rebellion against despair, turning utilitarian cloth into heirlooms whispering, beauty blooms in barren soil. Or the Sicilian fisherman who spent evenings rubbing olive oil into his single knife's handle, knowing wood nourished by salt and sweat would outlast steel. Modern neuroscience reveals why these rituals anchored sanity. When University of Toronto studied Depression-era survivors, they found those who practiced object intentionality, imbuing items with story and care, had 37% lower cortisol levels than peers. The knife wasn't just cutlery, it was a tactile diary. The shawl wasn't fabric, it was woven time. Contrast this with today's disposable frenzy. We discard phones for newer models while elders repaired pocket watches for generations. We accumulate fast furniture as they hand-carved stools to last centuries. Their secret? They cultivated relationships with objects, not transactions. A Basque shepherd's chipped cup became dearer with every crack, proof it had journeyed with him through storms. This is the alchemy of enough. Mending as mindfulness, darning socks became meditation. Maintenance as legacy, oil rubbed into leather was love made visible. Monogamy with objects, one pot, one bowl, a lifetime of intimacy. Try this tomorrow. Choose one item you'd normally replace. Restore it with ceremonial slowness. Polish shoes while recalling walks that shaped you. Mend a shirt seam stitch by stitch, thanking it for sheltering your skin. Feel how scarcity's shadow retreats when you whisper, "This is plenty. This is mine." But what of things beyond repair? The elders held a startling philosophy about loss, one that didn't just accept endings, but celebrated them. In the misted valleys of Shikoku, Japan, a 97-year-old bonsai master named Hiroshi does the unthinkable each autumn. He selects one beloved tree, some nurtured for half a century, and gifts it to the sea. Not from loss, but liberation. Roots must breathe, he says, as souls must travel. This is the profound art of mono no aware, the gentle sorrow for impermanence that elders transformed into sacred release. Where modern minimalism preaches ruthless discard, elderly wisdom practiced tender surrender. Appalachian grandmothers buried shattered dishes under rose bushes, whispering, "Bloom from this." Navajo weavers unraveled worn blankets at twilight, returning threads to sheep under blood-orange skies. Each act was a covenant. Nothing truly dies when released with gratitude. Observe the Norwegian fishermen's tradition when nets grew too frayed. They weighted them with stones and sank them into fjords, creating reefs for new life. A net's worth isn't in catching, they'd murmur, but in becoming shelter. Neuroscience now confirms this ritual's power. Oxford researchers found participants who ceremonially released objects showed 28% less attachment anxiety than those who merely donated, proving what elders knew. Ceremony transforms loss into legacy. Contrast this with our era of ghosted gadgets and forgotten subscriptions. We abandoned possessions like strangers, while elders parted like lovers at life's end. A Greek widow would wash her husband's coat one final time, hang it in the noonday sun, then burn it, not to erase memory, but to free his spirit from woolen threads. Their secret lay in 3 sacred gestures: blessing before release, tracing fingers over cracks, transformation invitation, sinking nets, reefs, seasonal surrender, autumn trees, sea gifts. This week, practice your own ceremony. Choose one object that no longer serves. Wash it. Thank it aloud for lessons carried. Then release it, not in a donation bin, but with intention. Bury a chipped mug under herbs, float a faded photo downstream, or return a book to the woods. Feel how lightness rises when you whisper, "Go where you're needed." Yet true freedom wasn't just in releasing objects, but in guarding something far more precious: time itself. High in the Andes, Quechua grandmothers still measure days not by clocks, but by how long it takes alpaca shadow to climb a canyon wall. In rural Provence, a 103-year-old beekeeper named Elise tends hives to the rhythm of her own breath. Each exhalation a minute, each swarm's hum an hour. These elders guarded time as one guards fertile soil, not by filling it, but by letting it lie fallow. Where we see empty hours as voids to be filled with screens and scrolls, elders recognized them as sacred incubators. During the Great Depression, Iowa farmers observed still mornings, sitting wordlessly on porches as dawn bled into day, gathering resolve like dew. Balinese elders practiced nyepi, days of silence where even fires went unlit. Understanding, darkness fertilizes insight. Neurology confirms their intuition. Max Planck Institute found brains of those practicing daily attention fallow produced 42% more gamma waves, the neural signature of epiphanies. than multitaskers. A single uninterrupted hour of stillness, they discovered, restores cognitive nutrients depleted by modern fragmentation. The Iowa farmers weren't idle. They were composting experience into wisdom. Notice the contrast. We fracture days into 15-minute slots, while Sardinian shepherds named entire afternoons su tempus de isperare, time for inhaling the world. We chase productivity. Kyoto tea masters spent years learning to wait for water to sigh before pouring. Their secret? Temporal minimalism, pruning schedules until only essential rhythms remained, sleeping with sunset, rising with frost, pausing when crows scattered. 3 pillars anchored their temporal sovereignty. Ritualized unknowing, deliberately losing track of time. Task monogamy, one pot scrubbed until it gleamed like prayer. Threshold vigilance, standing at doors/windows between tasks to reset attention. Tomorrow, reclaim one unmarked hour. Go where no clock lives, a park, a bath, a closet floor. Forbid agendas. Bring only your breath. When the urge to check devices arises, whisper Elise mantra. The bees don't swarm for appointments. Notice how stillness becomes a vessel, and in its hollow, the first drops of clarity gather. Yet all these practices converge toward one ultimate truth, one these sages embedded in bone and breath. In Okinawa's village of Ajimai, where centenarians outnumber traffic lights, 104-year-old Yuta greets each dawn by arranging 3 stones on her windowsill. Not for decoration, but as weightless heirlooms. These outlive me, she smiles. One for patience learned when typhoons destroyed her crops. One for joy distilled from a single tangerine shared with grandchildren. One for silence that taught her to hear Earth's heartbeat. This is the ultimate elder wisdom, crafting legacy not from possessions, but from invisible architecture of being. Where modern culture builds monuments of steel and digital footprints, elders cultivated immortality through distilled presence. Seneca wrote letters on recycled parchment, knowing words would outlive Rome's marble. Balinese grandmothers wrapped newborns in threadbare sarongs imbued with generations of lullabies, fabric worn so thin it became sheer carrier of soul. Their genius? Understanding that what remains when objects vanish is the only true inheritance. Harvard's study of adult development, tracking lives for 85 years, reveals the data. Those who prioritized experiences over acquisitions had relationships lasting 34% longer and reported 41% more life satisfaction at life's end. Not because they owned less, but because they embodied more. The Norwegian fisherman's knot-tying rhythm teaching focus, the Moroccan potter's breath sync with her wheel demonstrating flow. Witness the paradox. Their emptiness became fullness. A bare shelf held space for grandchildren's dreams. Their simplicity became complexity. One soup recipe carried 7 generations of resilience. Their mortality became immortality. Yuta's stones will teach patience long after she's dust. Contrast this with our digital age's curated legacies. Cloud-stored photos fading as platforms die, while elders' wisdom echoes in silent gestures. The way you stir tea remembering your grandmother's wrist flick, or pause at thresholds because your grandfather did. This solstice, begin your essence ledger. Harvest one daily ritual, morning window gazing, evening spoon polishing. Embed it with meaning, whisper its purpose like Yuta naming stones. Gift it wordlessly, let others absorb it through your presence, not lecture. Feel how 3 tangerine seeds planted in a child's palm grow forests no museum can contain. This is how you become ancestor. Not through wills, but through whispers that outlive you. And so we find that aging gracefully was never about adding years to life, but life to years. In our final moments together, we'll gather these 5 pillars into one practical ritual, a compass for navigating modernity with elder eyes. Like stones placed in a riverbed redirecting currents, these 5 pillars, sanctuary, renewal, release, sovereignty, and essence, reshape not just possessions, but perception itself. To age gracefully is to recognize. Simplicity isn't subtraction, It's the art of making space for eternity in everyday moments. Carry this compass forward. When overwhelm strikes, ask, what would Utah's stones hold? When clutter whispers, listen for the prairie widow's light dance. This path was never about becoming less, but becoming limitless. For deeper journeys into intentional living, wander through our Microtopia series, where tiny spaces become mirrors to your purpose, or explore the Hollow Era playlist, revealing how modern voids transform into vessels of meaning. If this wisdom resonated, join our fellowship of mindful travelers. Subscribe, and together we'll navigate the wilderness between noise and nuance. Until next time, own little, love deeply, leave light footprints,